Behind the curtain, faithless applause. Stages don't sleep. They hold their breath. After the last bouquet is smuggled to a dressing room and the crowd evaporates into the night, the opera house settles into a hush you can feel in your ribs, a velvet hush salted with dust, perfume that forgot it was expensive, and the faint, animal warmth of lights cooling. The grand drape hangs like a secret that knows it's winning. If you've never stood center stage in the dark with the ghost light burning a lonely coin on the floorboards, you don't know how a room can ask for honesty without moving a single hinge. I'm Marcus, stage manager of the Orpheon, a barn full of miracles pretending to be a building. My desk is a campaign of small faiths, spiked tape in colors that argue, a battered stopwatch that refuses digital, a fan of cue sheets with pencil scars where panic learned cursive, a box of safety pins that have saved more reputations than therapy. There's a drawer I pretend I don't keep, a blue tin that used to hold mints, now crammed with the theater's lost punctuation, earring backs, a clear hair tie, a bobby pin bent into a question mark, a cufflink that tried to defect. None of it worth anything. All of it proof that people like to shed pieces of themselves where applause once found them. Lily, my wife, then, ran development and special events. She could teach a donor dinner to behave like a seduction without anyone noticing who had been seduced. We met when a principal baritone decided his entrance should be organic, which is how singers say late, and I told him he could be organic on time. Lily watched me wrestle a diva's ego with nothing but tape, charm, and a headset, then cornered me in the wings with a smile that made even the fly system think about safety protocols. We married 2 seasons later in the rehearsal room under fluorescent lights that accidentally looked like blessings. On our first night alone in the building, I set the ghost light on the lip of the stage, rolled the grand drape a breath, and invited the room to keep our secrets. We learned where the boards sighed and which rails would advertise our enthusiasm to the balcony. There's a notch pressed into my lower back from the steel edge of the prompt desk where she once pinned me, and a comma of a birthmark beneath her left shoulder blade I could find with my mouth even if the work lights sang. She'd murmur, "Give me 10," and I'd give her 9 and keep one hidden under my tongue in case famine came. The first wrongness wasn't lipstick. It was rosin, amber dust whispering on the black marley where no violinist had tuned. The air smelled like cedar and mint when it should have been velvet and sweat. On the prop table, a flute glass sweated a ring onto a laminate that's seen better scandals. Camera 2, watching the crossover, blinked to snow for 18 seconds and returned innocent. The door to the lobby, which always sticks on the second pull, had decided to be polite for one mysterious body. I wrote the house a merciful story. A donor wandered and got lost mid-admiration. A chorus boy gave a coat check clerk a tour worthy of a cautionary poster. The next night returned the minutes like liturgy. 0014 the lobby door held. 0018 camera 2 had a weather event. 0023 the faintest dusting of rosin where nobody had any business stepping. On the prompt desk, my pencil lay left of where my right hand leaves it. On the grand piano, a single key wore the print of a mouth that had been practicing secrecy. At home, we folded towels. She halves, I thirds. Marriage is geometry with a heartbeat. Lily leaned her hip into the kitchen counter the way sailors trust hull and not sea. "Open," she said, not a plea, a clearance. She didn't touch me while she said it. That's how important things enter a house, hands visible, voice steady. "With rules," she added, as if rules could ask oxygen to behave. "Us first. No one from the Orpheon, no donors, tell me before, not after. Condoms. Our bed is a border with customs." I wanted to be larger than a building. We wrote it on the back of a seating chart, signed it with the solemnity of people who think paper can supervise desire, and called it adult. We were brave for 2 weeks. The third, at 10:51 p.m., her text, "Client tasting ran long, don't wait up." The lobby door held for 6 seconds. Camera 2 made snow. The rosin drifted like a polite accusation. I don't set traps in sanctuaries. I tune rooms until they can't lie. I powdered the underside of the stage right handle with the faintest whisper of fluorescing chalk, the kind costume uses to draw invisible darts that only the fitting room lights confess. I turned the ghost light's cord 1/4 twist into an irrational angle only my fingers would correct in the dark. I left a cue sheet under a paperweight just off true, lifted a breath, and the paper would crease like fog learning a name. I set a metronome on the piano and drew its pendulum half a tick towards stubborn. Hurried hands returned things to symmetry. She arrived with fast hair and a mouth brave enough to hold a script without cruelty. I raised the UV. The chalk constellation sparkled on her wrist like gossip with good lighting. The metronome sat perfect, unstubborn. The cue sheet wore a diagonal bruise. A half-moon of plum performed an aria in the curve of a champagne flute. "Don't make me the villain," she said. She wasn't pleading. She was tired of rooms that wanted knives. "I asked for before," I said. "I thought I did," she said. In her grammar, client tasting counted. She had kept tempo. I had insisted on melody. He followed with the float of men who think curtains open for them out of instinct. Adrian Vale, the tenor whose cheekbones had their own press agent. The Orphean's golden animal, whose high notes made donors forget to breathe and professionals pretend they were clergy. He smelled like mint gum and a laundry detergent too confident to be moral. He didn't look at me. He looked up at the grand drape the way narcissists look at their reflection in a window and call it destiny. "We'll go," he told the air, respectful as a cat. "We won't perform in here," I said, and held the door because buildings deserve ceremony when asked to carry weight. The latch made its modest consonant. The house exhaled once, like a sleeping thing that had rolled and decided to forgive. We separated with the ruthless kindness of people skilled at carrying breakables. She took the velvet blazer that taught light to behave, and the calendar where money and apology share a stool. I kept the chipped mug with the theater's old logo and my habit of speaking low to wood. Lawyers moved nouns across polished tables. We signed where names go when they are tired of starring. Work kept my hands from building shrines to grievance. A winch argued with physics and I taught it humility. A chandelier wanted to make its entrance a character choice. I told it comedy wasn't in tonight's score. A young dancer sprained an ankle, and I held the stage's breath while the medic did the liturgy of ice. I slept afternoons on an office couch that believed itself handsome, waking knowing which pulley would complain from the way the grid breathed. Noah arrived with a tool belt and patience disguised as ink on her forearm. Assistant head electrician, Lightrite with a map of the sky in her laptop, and a pencil behind her ear that made carpenters look twice. She moved through the wing like a rumor that fixed things. The Fresnels adored her. The board obeyed her. She smelled of orange oil and clean sweat, and when she laughed it sounded like someone tightened a bolt correctly. "Which of your children is lying?" she asked, squinting into the upstage catwalk. "LX-17, I said. "It flickers like a guilty alibi." "It wants to be wanted," she said, approving, and set her palm to the housing as if checking a forehead. The light settled a degree toward good behavior. We started with verbs that don't bruise. She showed me how to coax a stubborn DMX chain back into a family. I showed her the exact knock a fly rail gives the night before it forgets its job. She left half an orange on my desk. I slid the peel into my pocket and let my stubbornness smell like a better idea. The first time she touched me, it was my wrist, 1 degree, so my watchband wouldn't scratch the varnish on the prompt desk as I reached for the page button. "There," she murmured, and heat went inventorying my bones like a careful clerk. We are not children. Speed is fear in borrowed costume. The first time we kissed, we did it in the wings at a blackout, headsets tilted off, the glow tape on the floor practicing its own private constellations. Her mouth tasted of orange and coffee and the warm place that should be reserved for courage and love. She kept her eyes open for a beat, not to check for cameras. I had bullied every angle that mattered, just to choose me twice. My palm found that small of her back where the day stores its opinion. She made a sound I put in my pocket for famine. We counted to 10 and used 9. The last second belongs to the stage. We wrote rules that felt like respect, not fences. No touching near the curtains. Velvet has a memory and gossip isn't a lighting instrument. No mouths near costumes that haven't paid their cleaners. Yes to the grid after last sweep when the house is a cathedral of dust and mercy. Yes to the empty balcony where light puddles and wood remembers applause. Yes to my office with the task lamp off, her knee against mine under a rehearsal schedule that had started learning gentler nouns. We kept our fingers off master keys, like people who have handled fire. The gala returned because money loves its own echo. Elysium, Lily named it, because copywriting likes a word that implies gods owe them favors. She came in a dress that taught gold to behave. Adrian drifted a step behind like a rumor that knows your address. We nodded like professionals who refuse to make a building carry what mouths can carry. Noah wore black because gaff tape hides there and sailed a ladder through the party like a queen pretending to be a roadie. From the stage, someone misused legacy until it blushed itself thin. Someone else said alchemy like chandeliers weren't already science pretending to be seduction. I did my rounds because habit is a quiet god. Camera 2 watched like a dog that had chosen a new master. The lobby door remembered boundaries. The metronome on the piano sulked in sincere asymmetry. The blue tin in my drawer clicked under my thumb. Inside, clear hair tie, bent bobby pin, broken cufflink, a corner of a glittered place card, quotations around a chapter I refused to stage twice. After breakdown, when the last caterer finally believed mint isn't a personality, Noah found me upstage where the sick meets brick and placed her palm against the wall as if the building might share gossip with the polite. A crescent of wax glowed at her wrist where warmth lives. "You look like you left part of yourself in the trap room," she said. "I'm practicing staying," I told her. "As what?" she asked, soft because she is. "As a guest," I said, and the word felt like a chair that forgave knees. We climbed to the grid because grids don't gossip. The city beyond the loading dock arranged itself into a necklace of exits. She pressed me against the catwalk with the competence of someone who measures falls and tells gravity no. We kissed like people who respect risk and pay their bills. My belt scraped steel, and we both laughed because slapstick belongs to the liturgy of rooms that have already saved us. We stopped before the ghost light looked away. There's a version of this story where I weaponize the night, splice door holds and camera sneezes, stage the UV constellations like petitions, cue the moral outrage to a drum roll. That version ends with a theater that stops telling me the truth. I walked 2 bodies out of a door. I kept a sanctuary from being humiliated. I chose smaller verbs and learned they outlast knives. Winter taught the boilers humility and me patience. The new ASM learned the difference between secrecy and discretion. One is a hobby that wants applause, the other a gift. A pop idol rented the hall for a private sound check and tried to put a heel through a 19th century trap. We saved her with a smile and a stern lecture disguised as flirtation. Noah taught me that lights obey respect, not threats, and that I go quiet 3 breaths before my temper finds its costume. I taught her the shy, proud creak a board gives the night before it decides to split, and how to nap upright on a road case without waking furious at your spine. One night the lobby door chirped and nobody held it. Camera 2 admired a corridor that had learned peace. The rosin stayed where it belonged, in the pit with the strings. I laughed into my sleeve. Noah laughed into my collarbone. The drape pretended not to approve and let us be ordinary. If you wander the Orpheum in a moment, the schedule denies, and a voice in the dark tells you not to lean on the grand drape because velvet remembers. That's me pretending I'm only talking about fabric. If you see a woman in black rest her cheek against a warm instrument case for one counted second like prayer, that's Noah telling the room we're its students. You won't see the UV wand unless the walls ask for ghosts, and there isn't a kinder way. You won't see the blue tin unless you already know why punctuation saves lives. I coil the headset cord and feel the burr under my thumb where 100 stories taught the plastic to be honest. I kill the work lights in the order the room prefers, so darkness arrives like a language the stage remembers. The ghost light hums its last consent. Noah steals my final clean minute because she can. I let her because that rule outlived the rest. Tip the night. We walk the crossover with our hands in each other's pockets like we invented warmth. The city outside eats its reflection again. The house decides to trust us until morning. Stages don't sleep, they hold their breath. They forgive slowly, and then all at once when you stop making them host scenes they didn't audition for. We don't have 10 anymore. We keep the minutes we can carry and leave the rest tucked in the wings where glow tape keeps them bright. In the afternoon, a stranger will sit in row F and believe, for a breath, that the aria is looking directly at them. I will try to be as careful with the living. The blue tin in my drawer will click shut like a sentence that refuses to be a period. A semicolon, 2 clauses joined by a breath, the applause taught me to take.